everyone. My name is Lauren Lynch, and I have one question for you in regards to education. Would you rather be in a classroom with other students taking a test on that recent math lesson? Or would you rather be out in the real world getting a chance to learn about the world firsthand? I'm sure learning from and experiencing real life sounds more appealing than being shut up in a brick box for 7 hours a day. I recently read an article by John Holt titled "School is Bad for Children." I must say, I've always been a huge proponent of education, and I still am. However, this article opened my eyes to a whole new perspective on the educational system. Within this article, I found a few key factors of learning that I had never considered. The boring, negative environment that schools currently possess, how learning can be turned into real-life fun experiences, and the type of knowledge that we should be gaining from these institutions. Outside of the walls of schools, there lies a whole new opportunity for students to learn. And these new opportunities begin with a change in the boring curriculum and bad grades. Teachers throw out dry material via PowerPoints and worksheets and expect students to soak it up with no problem. But there is a problem with that. John Holt stated the following in his article: "Right answers are what the school wants, and he learns countless strategies for prying these answers out of the teacher, for conning her and thinking he knows what he doesn't know." Okay, so let me explain that quote a little bit more in depth. Schools today focus on students getting A's on tests that they have created instead of giving students a chance to explain what they really have learned from a lesson. Students tend to learn more if they are involved with their peers. We are often curious about other people's opinion on a subject, yet we are only able to interact with other students at the teacher's discretion. Any communication between students is often resulted in a detention or a referral. So in order to solve the problem of a boring and routine education, students should be able to communicate with each other about each lesson at hand, enabling them to be more accepting and learn from others' opinions. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is an institution in the United States that works with the governments of 34 democracies with market economies to promote economic growth. This organization recently conducted a study that compared average expenditure per student in all education levels to the average performance on the International Student Assessment Exam. The results were jaw-dropping. In terms of K-12 education, the United States spends an average of $15,000 per student, while countries such as the United Kingdom, Japan, and France all average around $10,000 per student. So one would expect the United States to score the highest on the exam, but as it turns out, the United States scored the poorest, with Japan coming in first. The reason for this lies in the way students are taught. Students in Japan, France, and the United Kingdom are all taught by real-life and real-world experiences, with less tests and more communication. The United States, on the other hand, is the opposite, and this is evidence enough to start an education reform here in the United States. So what's better than sitting in numerous classes for 7 hours a day, 5 times a week? Many, many things. We've all found ourselves in even the most interesting class daydreaming about what we are going to do after school. But that's just it. After school is where we get to experience the real world up close and personal. By bringing students outside the classroom during school hours, we allow students to learn about adult life and work life. An example I read in the article by John Holt was of 2 public schools in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Portland, Oregon. These public schools, whose plans are still being drawn, will take students out into the streets of cities, so students are able to use the cities as well as the people and landmarks in the cities as a learning resource. By using local resources, students will learn about their world and society by traveling to places such as courtrooms, exhibits, museums, businesses, and laboratories. By bringing students into close contact with those who are working in the field and providing them with real-life experiences, more than just textbook knowledge is gained. Students should not be focusing their time and energy on drilling the Pythagorean theorem into their heads or making sure that they memorize all the elements on the periodic table. If anyone said it best, John Holt did in the quote, "People only remember what is interesting and useful to them. All else they quickly forget." Should the fixed required curriculum be abolished? Well, that's up to debate. However, students should have a more customizable and interesting educational experience where they gain knowledge that can be applied later in life. So how does that math test stand now? Pretty mediocre to the things you could be spending that 40-minute class period doing, right? The negative and boring environment of the education system could be turned into a positive learning experience easily by changing the curriculum to encourage a little more peer involvement and a little less testing. When curriculum is changed to meet these standards, more than real life and enjoyable experiences, such as learning outside of the classroom, can occur. When this happens, students will then experience and learn things that they enjoy and will actually remember. There is definitely room for improvement in the educational system of today's time, and there are many places to begin this reform. As John Holt mentioned in his article, children want more than they want anything else, even after years of miseducation, to make sense of the world, themselves, and other human beings. Thank you.